With us on set through the entirety of the back and forth with the president and with the reporters. What was going through your mind during all of that?
I think it's classic President Trump. You see how detail-oriented he is. He is a builder at heart. You talked about his passion of raising this flagpole, of beautifying the White House grounds, at the same time as talking about his peace through strength agenda and ensuring that Iran is not able to pursue nuclear weapons capability. He talked about economic policies benefiting the American worker. He talked about the importance of lowering interest rates to make so many things more affordable, to dig out of the economic hole we were in under Joe Biden. He talked about the auto pen, where you had a president who was not in control of anything and relying on his far-left radical aides versus President Trump, who is aware of everything going on, whether it's his discussions with head of state. So I think that was classic President Trump. I love to see it, and I love to see these flagpoles.
Yeah, they're going to be raised. He wants to lower the rates. He said Jerome Powell's too late, and so is Iran, by the way. And he says that the deportations can't come soon enough. So a lot of sort of connective lines throughout this press briefing here. But when it comes to Iran, I know, Congresswoman, of course, we're all watching very closely what will be the next steps and the United States will take. He didn't give us exact details there, but what will you be monitoring in the near future?
Well, we're monitoring this very closely. I serve on the House Armed Services Committee as one of the most senior members. I serve on the House Intelligence Committee, and President Trump has been very clear for years, not just for this term, that Iran must not pursue nuclear weapons capability. And we strongly stand with Israel. Israel has a right to defend itself, and we are very proud of Israel's strong national security policies to defend its nation. Obviously, the president is the core of this in terms of the intelligence every single day, but I know the American people trust President Trump to keep us safe and to strengthen our national security. He is the peace president, and he talked about the fact that he pursued these discussions for 60 days. And he pointed out the Iranians refused to make a deal. Instead, on day 61, their refusal to make a deal, they're in a very different position now. And as he said, two key words: unconditional surrender. I strongly support the president. I support his peace through strength agenda. I've worked with him for years on this issue. And this is very important, and it is an opportunity to have peace in the Middle East once and for all.
The fighting continues, obviously, there, Iran, Israel, over nuclear facilities. But the fighting also continues here in the States, specifically with anti-Semitism and combating that and just the worst conditions that you have seen those of the Jewish faith suffer from here within the States, these anti-Israel protests, these horrible chants from the river to the sea, and I mean, the list goes on. And you've even made a name for yourself, too, fighting against anti-Semitism. We do have a moment here when you grilled former Harvard President Claudine Gay. This is on Capitol Hill. For our viewers, watch this moment.
At Harvard, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be, depending on the context.
What's the context?
Targeted at an individual.
Calling for the genocide of Jews violates Harvard Code of Conduct, correct?
Again, it depends on the context.
It does not depend on the context. The answer is yes, and this is why you should resign.
And we were here in that moment. We aired that live here on National Report. And I remember that very heated exchange, and rightfully so. There's so many are waiting for someone to stand up for them. And you did so in that moment on Capitol Hill. But the accountability, holding Harvard accountable and other schools accountable, still exists. How do you plan to do so going forward?
Well, we are working with the administration hand in glove. There are multiple facets to this. So first of all, these universities get billions of dollars of U.S. taxpayer funds. We need to withhold these funds because these universities have failed to fix themselves. We also need to go at the heart of it and look at any foreign dollars that are flowing into our university systems. We have put forth legislation to address that, and there needs to be more investigation in that space as well. This has also exposed the failure of governance of these universities. These boards have refused to meet their fiduciary requirements to lead these schools. So I'm dealing with all facets of this as well. We also have to go after the offices of DEI DEI, which by definition are anti-Semitic. In the case of Harvard, you had many Jewish students reach out concerns of rising anti-Semitism, and this was prior to October 7th. And yet the Office of DEI at Harvard refused to respond because they did not believe that Jewish students deserved a response from the Office of DEI. That at its core is anti-Semitic. So there are many tools we have. We are the leader working with the Trump administration, and thank goodness we elected President Trump. This was a major pillar of his efforts to combat anti-Semitism. And it's not just what we're seeing on college campuses. Look at the New York City mayoral Democrat primary. You have one of the top two leading candidates who said that Israel does not have a right to exist as a Jewish state. You have that same candidate saying that he would arrest Netanyahu in New York City. This is today's Democrat Party that has been embraced by Kathy Hochul.
Can I ask you about a local school district in New York? Because we talk about Harvard all the time, but sometimes these stories are missed. And there's one that's coming under fire for distributing a standardized test packet, defines Zionism in a very negative context. This is the Candlewood School District in Dix Hills, New York, gave the packet to sophomore students, which claims Zionism is extreme nationalism and that, quote, every war ended with Israel gaining more land, as well as Jews taking land away from Palestinian. A resident of Dix Hills, Yael Sabak, spoke out about this at a recent school board meeting. Here's that.
The section on Zionism grossly misrepresented a foundational aspect of Jewish identity. At its core, Zionism is simply the belief that the Jewish people have a right to self-determination and homeland in Israel.
You brought attention to this story on X, writing that Kathy Hochul and New York Democrats own this vile anti-Semitism on NYS Regent exam. A total immoral abomination here. This raging anti-Semitism in New York is appeased and promoted by Kathy Hochul and her failing anti-Semitic New York Democrat Party. Enough is enough. And of course, we bring this up because your name, Congresswoman, has been floated as a potential candidate for governor here in New York. How would you handle this situation differently than those currently in power?
Well, we have to have zero tolerance for anti-Semitism in the state of New York. We have the largest population of Jewish residents out of any other state in the nation. And what we have seen is a skyrocketing of anti-Semitic slurs, crimes, hate crimes, assaults against Jewish individuals, Jewish families. We need higher security for our synagogues. We need a zero tolerance. Or look at what the New York State Assembly did under Democrat leadership. They refused to vote on a resolution recognizing the horrific day of October 7th. They pulled that. The New York Democrats did that, and that is under Kathy Hochul. So we will have zero tolerance, and we certainly will not have tolerance for a New York City mayor that is at their core anti-Semitic. So that is what Kathy Hochul has embraced. She owns this. If you look at Jewish voters in the state of New York, they are increasingly voting Republican because they know that Republicans stand strongly with Israel, that Republicans are the leader, and I've been the leader of that charge to combat, condemn, and zero out anti-Semitism, whether it's on college campuses or on our streets and communities in New York State.
I want to move over, if we can, staying with Governor Hochul, but moving away from anti-Semitism to migrant crime or to those coming here illegally. There was a bit of a back and forth with you and the governor on Capitol Hill that we'll be able to play. I just wanted to show this and maybe get your reaction today to this. Not only that, but the slush fund that's going to be built there for those here illegally to fight these battles in court. Watch this.
Rapes of young girls, beatings of NYPD cops by illegals who are here under Kathy Hochul's failed policies, burning New Yorkers alive. This is Kathy Hochul's New York. It's one of the many reasons why you're hemorrhaging support from hardworking New York
These are
families.
horrific crimes, and they're heartbreaking.
They're horrific crimes that are committed on your watch. You signed this executive order on your first day in office. You signed it again and again this January. We deserve a governor who stands up for law-abiding New Yorkers, doesn't put illegals first, but actually puts New Yorkers first. I appreciate
Rather than going after the viral moment, I suggest you look at the facts.
I'm standing up for New Yorkers.
No.
Rather than addressing the illegals in New York, you are prioritizing your far-left sanctuary state policies, which you put in place with executive orders.
And not only that, the $50 million that is going to go towards legal funds for those here illegally to fight their court battles, that from Governor Hochul as well. Your response to that?
My response is we need a governor who puts New Yorkers first, and Kathy Hochul puts illegals first and New Yorkers last. And let's be clear about the $50 million slush fund. Those are taxpayer dollars of hardworking New York families. And the fact that Kathy Hochul wants to use our hard-earned taxpayer dollars to bail out illegals, New Yorkers, whether you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent, that is not common sense. That is antithetical to the type of leadership that we should have. This is the same day that Kathy Hochul ran to the side of a Democrat mayoral candidate who assaulted an ICE law enforcement officer. And rather than supporting our law enforcement officers, Kathy Hochul supports the assaulter. This is about putting criminals first. And as you saw, further clips of that hearing, she did not acknowledge that a woman was burned alive on a subway by an illegal in New York State because of Kathy Hochul's sanctuary state laws. She did not acknowledge that a 15-year-old minor was raped in Albany County by an illegal here because of Kathy Hochul. She did not acknowledge a 5-year-old that was raped or molestations that happened on Long Island. She owns these sanctuary state policies. She signed 3 executive orders continuing those, and New Yorkers are sick of it. It is why her polls are plummeting because, again, regardless of your party affiliation, we deserve a governor who has strong leadership and puts New Yorkers first.
She's always one to watch, by the way, when you're questioning witnesses. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us today. We understand there's some breaking news with the president, so thanks for standing by.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.